Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Kelly and today I want to talk about OnlyFans and Lily Phillips, who has been all over the internet. So Lily is an OnlyFans creator and she had sex with 100 men in 24 hours to increase our views on OnlyFans and to make more money. Now, there's been lots of comments on social media and I just wanted to talk about the reaction more than what she did. So my basic position is that whilst Lily is an adult and she is a consenting adult, she is traumatised, and so she has responsibility for her part in what happened. Those 100 men also have a responsibility too, and the response I've had on the internet is that it's not the men's responsibility, because she's consented and she's sorted out and she's looked for it. She's invited them, all of that kind of stuff. So I really wanted to talk about the difference between men and women, really, and a little bit more about consent as well, because it's in discussing this, I've learned a bit more about consent. So consent usually is like within the law, it's more about whether a woman agrees or not to whatever is happening. But there's a lot more to it than that, really. Not necessarily within the law, because you can't really legislate for everything. You can't create laws for everything. But when we're thinking about creating a society that we all share and making society functioning for the people who live here and a positive place to be part of, we'll have to think about our own contribution. And men and women are fundamentally different. Whilst lots of people want to believe that that's not true, it really is true. So men have evolved to be detached from sex. They don't, and I'm generalising and I'm not a man, so obviously, so I feel like I have to say that, but I have spoken to men and thought about this to come up with this view. Men don't have an emotional connection during sex. They just do it and they can move on. For women, it's not like that. It's the way that they bond, and they do create emotional connections with the men or women that they have sex with. And so it's a fundamentally different proposition for a woman than it is for a man. And that is in our evolution. It's evolved over time because women have a lot more stake. When there's more that they the consequences for women are greater than for men. So, for example, they can end up pregnant, so that's their body hosting another person for 9 months. That's almost a year. That is a long time, and there's a lot of energy and emotional resource goes into growing a baby. But then the dependency of children until they're 18 and beyond usually falls on women. The majority of that emotional labour, the physical labour, falls on women. So women do have a greater stake in that, and they are programmed not to do that easily. They're not programmed to just sleep around. However, society has encouraged women to behave like men, and so sometimes women will agree to doing things that aren't really good for her, and that's definitely what's happening with this Lily Phillips, this woman. So I watched the video. It was grim, this documentary. She said lots of times that it was what she wanted and she loved it and she really enjoyed it and stuff like that. But afterwards, you could see in her face that she was traumatised. Her body language said it all. And basically, we need to bring that knowledge back that it's not okay to do that in society. So one of the comments that I got when I said that Lily was clearly traumatised was from a woman who said she doesn't have a sign on her forehead saying I am traumatised. So how are the men supposed to know? Well, she hasn't got a sign on her forehead. Well, she literally does. Look, it's this thing here. It's called a face. By looking at it, you can tell how people are feeling, how their emotions are, whether they're traumatised, whether they are enjoying something, whether they're not. So yes, you literally do have a sign on your forehead. And the majority of comments were from men. So it was one particular post on Facebook that I commented on, and I just kept getting more and more and more comments. Loads of men laughing at what I'd said, which it astounded me. I'm just like, have you not got any morals? Like, it's legal. It's not that whole thing. It's not illegal. It's not against the law. But is that the society you want to live in? And a lot of the men were saying that the men involved were not responsible because she was inviting it and she wanted it. But any decent man just wouldn't take part in that. And as a woman of a certain age, I know that decent men don't do that. I was talking to my husband about this and he was saying, well, these are the men who are, I mean, he didn't put it in these words, but basically what he said was that they were chronically online. And he didn't use that term because he's a bit older than me and he's not on the internet very much, although he does like watching YouTube, but he's not on social media. So he doesn't know the terminology, but that's basically what he said. This is a demographic of men who are on the internet. And this is what I'm noticing. Like, on the internet, people are not rooted in reality because, like, they've been maybe gaming too much and they think that it's interchangeable, that you can, like, be a man or a woman and you can die and then that has no real world consequences. And of course, in a game, it doesn't. You can change from a man into a woman and you can die 100 times and still come back to life. But in life isn't like that. Real life, you can't change sex. You can't change your body. You can change your body, but it doesn't make you into the opposite sex. You can't die 100 times because if you die, you're dead and you don't come back to life. So, yeah, it's really what I wanted to talk about. Women build an emotional connection through sex, and one night stands really destroy women. It's soulless, and as a society, we've become like saturated with porn. So, like, years ago, back in the 80s and the 90s, if you wanted to view porn, you would have to go to the shop, either buy a magazine or a video, which was probably on the top shelf. You knew that there was a bit of shame involved in that. It was a little bit seedy and it wasn't just readily available like it is now. So now we have these smartphones, which you keep in your back pocket or your handbag or whatever. You hold in your hand all the time. And with a touch of a button, you can see the most like extreme versions of behaviour. And, you know, I've even heard of men watching porn on public transport. It is not good for women. It's definitely not good for women, but it's certainly destroying men as well. So, yeah. So I'm just going to turn the page. I've got some notes because I didn't want to forget anything. So, yeah, so rape. I want to talk about this as well because I did post on TikTok the other week and I was getting an argument about why aren't you talking about women who rape men? Well, there may have been a bit of a clash of culture maybe in the definition, because in the UK the definition of rape is the non-consensual penetration of a penis into a vagina, an anus or a mouth. And I'm wondering if some of the commenters people commenting were from another country where the definition is different, because so in the UK a woman is unable to rape a man because the very definition requires you to have a penis and women don't have penises. But it may, like I say, the definition might be different in other places, but the focus became on women damaging men, and I completely acknowledge that that is something that happens. Women can be very manipulative and can be emotionally abusive, and I don't want to take anything away from any man who has been in that situation. However, when women talk about violence against women and rape, you always get some man saying, what about? Well, we can talk about this on its own. And if you want to start a conversation about men and abuse, that's absolutely fine. Go and do it. But you don't need to gate crash our conversations. It really annoys me. Like, I wouldn't dream of going on someone's post on social media, for example, about abuse of men by women and saying, well, what about women? I just wouldn't do it because that's not the purpose of the post. But the statistics bear it out. It's mainly women. The majority of abuse happens to women because we're physically not as strong as men. And I think we've forgotten that in our society. So yeah, so consent. Let's go back to consent. If a woman agrees, then obviously it's not against the law, but there's more to it than that. So it could be that that consent has been gained manipulatively or through coercion, or there's a financial aspect involved in, like, the case of OnlyFans or prostitution. This leaves women at a disadvantage because they can be in that position where they are manipulated or coerced. And when women have sex, they're usually looking for love. They usually want a long-term relationship. And men aren't looking for that. They just want sex, usually. Well, more often than not. But yeah, is this the society that you want to live in? Because it's not the kind of society that I'd like to live in. But yeah, so there's this other thing where I keep seeing comments from men saying women aren't fulfilling their end of the bargain, so why should men fulfill theirs? And they don't specify what they mean, but I think what they mean is that women are getting jobs and supporting themselves independently, financially, and they are not going into traditional roles in the home. And I would say to that, if that's what they mean, women needed to gain financial independence because some men were abusive and would take advantage of women not having property rights, not being financially independent, so that they couldn't leave an abusive relationship where they were being raped or like physically assaulted. And marital rape's only been illegal in this country since 1992 or something. I haven't checked the date of that, but it's very recent, and that's horrifying. So if a man wanted to have sex with a woman that he was married to, he could just do it no matter whether she wanted to or not, which is just not right because it's traumatic for women to be forced to do things like that. But yeah, so if a woman is dependent on a man for finances, then they're trapped. They can't move out of that relationship. They're dependent on that man treating them well. And in an ideal world, every woman would be with a man who treats her really well and looks after her. But we all know that that's not the real world, and that's not the world we live in. So yeah, I can't imagine not going to work and not creating in that way, because it's something that I enjoy. Me and my husband have very different roles from what you would consider to be traditional. So it's me that set the businesses. It's me who has worked to build the businesses. My husband's not really bothered about working. He likes to cook and clean and tidy up and put things in order. So I've focused on building the business and he's focused on the home, and I like it like that and he likes it like that. I've built a business. I come to work every day. He doesn't come to work every day. He looks after the home. I look after the business. He gets involved when I need his skills because he's got skills that I haven't got, and it works for us, but it's back to front because I just don't like cooking, don't like cleaning. I don't mind cleaning other people's houses, strangely. Like, I've done cleaning jobs in the past and I've been a carer where there was a lot of domestics involved, and I didn't mind doing other people's because you don't live in it and then create a mess. What I hate is cleaning my own house and then people mess it up, and that really frustrates me because I want it to be clean and then done. And you can do that in someone else's house because you clean it and it's done and then you leave, and then next time you come, you don't see it getting dirty or messy. Next time you come, you can clean and see it done. So there's like an end point. But when you live in a house, well, there's always something to clean, isn't there? Like the tops of the cupboards, or you know what I mean? There's like always something that you can clean. Anyway, so my point is that men and women are built differently. We should be complementing each other and supporting each other. And that's basically in the sorts of relationships that I'm used to. And I'm sure there are other types of relationships that don't look like mine, but those are the ones that I'm used to, so that's the ones I'm talking about. So I don't mean to leave anyone out when I discuss my experience, but I don't have experience of being in a same-sex relationship or living on my own, because I've never lived on my own. I've lived with my children on my own, but I've never lived in a house on my own, literally with nobody else living there. So just talking about my experience of the home. So yes, you should really play to your skills. And if your skill is cleaning and you enjoy cooking and you enjoy looking after people, then that's what you should do. And if you enjoy going to work, then that's what you should do. And there are some times when you have to do stuff that you don't like, and there are times when you don't have to do what you don't want to at all. But there has to be a balance between what you need and what you want. Which brings me nicely to the point of this whole video. When you have rights, the freedom and the right to do the things that you enjoy, you also have a responsibility towards society and other people who you share society with, to not harm other people and to take responsibility for the consequences of your behaviour and your actions. And on that note, I'm going to stop talking because I'd love to know what you think about what I've said, and I'm sure I'm going to get loads of people disagreeing with me, but women and men are fundamentally different, and we need to start acknowledging that. Women are equal but different. Men are often portrayed in the media actually as like useless, which is just like weaponized incompetence and stuff like that. Anyway, so let me know what you think, and we'll have a discussion in the comments if you decide to share your thoughts.